Anyways, there's a couple people in here. Who we got in here? If you're new, if you just popped in, go ahead and say what's up. Let me know who you are. I see Ron's in here. I see Randy. Well, Ron's gone now. I see Randy's in here. What's up, Randy? How you doing? Talking about the good old days today. Talking about how to recognize the good old days. And I saw this in in a clip from the TV show, The American Office. I don't like the British Office. I just don't get the humor. And so I thought I would share this. It was one of the final episodes, and I really like what one of the characters had to say. Sorry if I look tired. I just got off the road. I was traveling all last night, all yesterday, all weekend. It feels like just getting back home and into my office in beautiful Aliso Viejo, California. Anyways, let me show you this clip really quick and kind of base what we're talking about. Today.
The weird thing is, now I'm exactly where I want to be. I got my dream job at Cornell. And I'm still just thinking about my old pals. Only now they're the ones I made here. I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them.
That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about how to recognize you're in the good old days while you're in them, because so many times we look back on fondness of our past and what we accomplished in the past or where we were in the past, and we miss those days. We miss those times when things were good, and it always seems like things were always good in the good old days. And there were challenges during those times. There were complications during those times. There were frustrations, definitely. There was anticipation and trying to move forward. But a lot of the times, those good old days, we always look back at them with fondness. And a couple reasons why we look back on them with fondness, why we are always looking back and seeing the good old days. Why the good old days are good is negative memories are hard to keep. It's hard to keep negative memories unless you're a negative person. It's hard to be a person that constantly looks back and says, well, life's better now because back then this was happening, this was happening, this was happening. I mean, you can really look back on your life experiences, and if you really want to dig deep into the negative side of what you were going through, you can find some negative things that were happening at that time. But most of the time when we look back on the history of our lives, we see ourselves as positive. We see positive things happening. The more we share, the more we change. When we're talking about the good old days and we're sharing about the good old days, the days that were favorable to us, the days that we remember well, the days that we miss, those were days that when we share those, we are able to change more with them. What's up, Carmen? How you doing? Good to have you here. Thank you for being here. Who else is here? Somebody else just came in. Who else is here? We got a couple people. If you're here, go ahead and shout out your name. This is an interactive broadcast, so make sure to talk back at me. What's up, Alamo 15? How you doing? Thanks for joining us. Make sure to say something if you have some input into this topic and what we're talking about. Make sure to say it. But a couple reasons why we remember back on the good old days with positive things. Sorry, I'm looking over my notes over here. Is the more we share those things, the more that we recognize the change that's happened in our life, and then the more that we begin to change along, and we realize, wow, I've come a long way. And so we see the growth point in our lives where we've gone from one place all the way to another place, and we've seen the change that has happened, and that encourages us and inspires us to change more. Some of the reasons why we look at the good old days, we look back in the day and we see the good old days, is we always want to look better in our own minds. Isn't that the truth? We always try to look back and we try to see how our life was before, and we want to have that good perspective. I remember back in the day, there was a time in my life where I was not the hardest worker. And somebody had said that about me, and I don't like to remember back on to the fact that somebody called me lazy at one point in my life, but I do recognize that person calling me lazy inspired me to go further than I've ever gone before. What's up, Jason Darius? I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, but thanks for joining us today. Make sure to comment, make sure to share this. This is an interactive broadcast, so make sure to talk about whatever you have, the input that you can have in this. Another reason that we we favor the good old days, we look back at the good old days and we recognize them and favor them, is because we have to keep we have to keep positive in spite of everything that we've gone through. Now we look back at the positive days, or we look back at the good old days and we remember them fondly because the area that we've been through, we have to keep a positive attitude. We look at it and we say we must keep this positive if we're going to move forward. There's not very many times where you look back at the good old days and you remember all the hardship, all the hard days. Even a lot of time you hear about people that are living in, do you ever feel stuck? What do you do? I feel stuck oftentimes. Casey Ross, thank you for joining. Thank you for that question. I feel stuck oftentimes. And for me, I have to, kind of like a computer, you have to refocus its attention. Like if your computer is running slow, your internet browser is running slow, then you need to go and clean out the cookies. You need to go out and clean out the history. You need to go and clean that all out. Then you need to run a virus scan on it and run that. And a lot of times that's what I do in the morning times. I love to walk. That's my way of readjusting myself to what's important in my life and refocusing. And so those are the times where I can go on a walk. I go, I wish I could show you. Maybe I can. I don't know if you can see the hills. This is my apartment complex here. I don't know if you can see that I live up on top of a hill, and I live in the hills, and it's really nice area to go walking. It's a really nice area to go walking in the morning. So I try to go in the morning. I try to refocus my life onto what I need, and oftentimes when I haven't gone on my walk, when I haven't readjusted in the morning time, that specific time in the morning, when I haven't readjusted those times, that's when I start to recognize that I'm feeling stuck. I often will pay attention to what I'm listening to, what I'm watching. If I'm watching stuff that all of a sudden I go, wait a second. I try to be very self-conscious about what I'm putting into myself, into my mind, because that affects you very much. It affects how you think, how you where you're at. And so, yeah, when I feel stuck, which I often do, I make sure to get going on my walk and I readjust. I focus. I pay attention. I do a lot of prayer. I do a lot of reading, and I just try to focus on where I am and where I'm going and where I've come from. And I look at the good old days. Only a positive mind stays positive. You can't have a negative mind and stay positive. It's just not possible. What's up, everybody? We have quite a couple of viewers. I'm brand new to this. My cousin Chantrell is here. What's up, Chantrell? Thanks for coming over. Probably from Facebook post. Kramer's Majesty joined. Thank you for being here. And this is an interactive broadcast we're doing here. Chantafor. Oh, that's Chantrell. What's up, Chantrell? Make sure to comment on what we're talking about. So far, we've been talking about how to recognize that you're living in the good old days when you're living in the good old days, because many times we look back and we say, we're in the good old days. And that was the good old days. And how do we recognize that? I shared a clip from The Office, and I want to share it again. Go ahead and give me those hearts if you like this topic. I'm going to share this little clip from The Office again so that you can see exactly where this idea came from for this broadcast. So it's right here. It's character Andy. It's one of the last episodes.
The weird thing is, now I'm exactly where I want to be. I got my dream job at Cornell. And I'm still just thinking about my old pals. Only now they're the ones I made here. I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them.
And that's what we're talking about, is we're talking about how to recognize the good old days before you leave them so that you can really get a hold of everything that they have. This character on the show, I don't know if you're familiar with The Office, but he was constantly talking about his days back when he was in college at Cornell, when he had a great time with all his friends back then. He was constantly bringing them up throughout the entire show. And then in this scene that we just watched, he talks about how has his dream job. He's working at Cornell. He's the place that he always thought he would want to eventually be, but he's missing his friends back when he was working at this company, and he's missing his friends, and he's looking at the good old days. And he keeps looking back and seeing the good old days. Only a positive mind stays positive. We have to keep positive in spite of everything. We want to look better in our own minds. The more we share, the more we change, and negative memories are hard to keep. Those are some of the reasons why we look back, and why we look back at the days that were previous. Some of my good old days were when I was with Masters Commission, Crossfire Masters Commission. We were traveling the U.S. Actually, we're traveling the world, and I was feeling at the time that was not at the time. Looking back, I was feeling like, man, I can look back and remember times where I felt like I was being used, where I was accomplishing things that I had never accomplished, where there was just so much happening in my life that was positive, and then if I search hard enough, I can remember the negative times too. I can remember the negative pieces that were involved in it. But mostly I remember the good old days. And whenever I get alone with friends, we start talking about, oh, remember this, remember this, remember this. We start telling stories. All my brothers were with me at one point in Master's Commission, and we were able to go and we tell stories all the time. And I'm going to be this Friday, I'm actually going to be heading back to Oregon, and we're going to be celebrating our 15th anniversary of starting Master's Commission, which is really exciting that it's been going for 15 years. Something that I helped start it is now a teenager, and we're at that alumni picnic. We're going to be talking about memories of when we were all together in the good old days that we had together back then. It's going to be a great time. Isn't it funny, Chantrell? You were involved in a negative story that happened in that history, and if I go into my mind, I can remember those negative things, but we block out the negative things that happen intentionally so that we can have a better perspective of who we are, because a positive mind stays positive, and if we stay positive. So let's talk about how we can recognize today, if we're living in the good old days today, let's talk about how we can recognize that. Well, first of all, I just wrote down 3 things, 3 tips that I think that we can begin to look at things in our lives and recognize them. The first one is that we recognize the love. We recognize the love that's around us. If we can recognize the love that's around us with a positive mind, with a positive mindset, we can recognize the love that's around us. We can recognize what it is that we're accomplishing. Then we're going to be able to recognize when we're in those days that we're in our future selves are going to look back with fondly. And we're going to be more productive in those days. We're going to accomplish more. We're going to feel better about ourselves years down the road. The other thing is, and this is something that I got just this last week, I was on vacation in Colorado. I did a Periscope a couple days ago, last Wednesday, I think it was, about making a memory. And a lot of times we just live life. We live life. We go. We live life, but we don't ever stop and experience life and experience what we're going through. So we have to stop and experience what's happening. We can't just react. Life is not just action and reaction, but we have to recognize, man, this is the good old days right here, because I'm going to stop and really experience this. And that's not saying just experience the positive things. That could be experiencing the negative things in our life as well. I always am advising people to pay attention to their emotions, pay attention to how they're feeling and what's going on in their life. Because when we pay attention to those things, even the negative emotions, we can actually control the emotions. Now, there's a really good movie that I've heard. I can't wait to see it, from Pixar, that's out right now, called Inside Out, and they're talking about emotions and all of that. And what I always tell people is, man, when you're upset, be upset. Experience that emotion. Experience that feeling. Be upset. Allow yourself to be upset, and then give yourself the ability to be upset for a certain time. Give your emotions a time limit. Tell yourself, okay, I am depressed. I am upset. I am angry. I don't want this emotion to control my entire life, so I'm going to give you a certain amount of time, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, and I'm going to fully embrace this emotion for the next 5 minutes. If I'm depressed, I'm going to fully embrace this depression for the next 5 minutes. I'm going to just go all into it. I'm going to cry. I'm going to not want to see the world. But I'm going to give that emotion a time limit. And then when that time is over, the emotion does not have any more participation in my day. It has no more participation in my day. It has no more time that it can take. And every time that emotion tries to come back up in me, the anger, the frustration, the worry, the regret, anytime that time starts to come up, I say, no. You've had your time today. Tomorrow is another day. You'll have time tomorrow. I'll give you 5 minutes tomorrow. But today, you don't have that time. It's funny, I heard I can't remember the details of the story. Maybe I'll share that on my next broadcast. But there is a great story that I heard from one of the greatest pastors in America, Matthew Barnett. Want to give a shout out to Matthew Barnett, even though he's probably never going to watch this. Still want to share that. So stop and experience. Make sure to recognize the love that's in your life. Make sure to recognize the people that are in your life, and then stop and experience what you're going through. Experience what's happening in your life. The other thing that we have to do is we have to decide to move forward, right? We have to decide to move forward. We can't live in the good old days if in the future we're not living in the good old days. We can't live in the good old days if we don't move past these days, because there is a future for each of us. There's more for us. And if these are going to be the good old days, then we have to move forward. We have to constantly be a person that's striving to grow and become a better person, because a positive mind stays positive, right? We don't like to look back at ourselves negatively. The more we share, the more we change. And if we can move forward from the negative, we can move forward, and we can move forward with a positive mindset, then we can accomplish what it is that we're talking about today: living in the good old days, recognizing the good old days, and being able to not look back and say, man, it was way better then, but look back and look at where you've come and say, man, look at where we're at now. Josh O, what's up, man? Thanks for coming here. We're just about to end. Any comments, questions, anything there that we should talk about? We talked about how to recognize the good old days. We showed the clip from The Office where the character is sitting there saying, I wish there was a way I could see when the good old days were. And then we talked about what makes the good old days, that only a positive mindset stays positive, that we have to keep positive in spite of everything, that we want to look better in our own minds. The more we share, the more we change. The negative memories are harder to keep. And then to recognize that we're living in the good old days, that we have to recognize the love, we have to stop and experience, and then we have to move forward. Josh says I look like Obama. I don't know how that's possible. He says he likes my hair and he wonders how I can do it. Actually, I hate this haircut right now. Thank you, Sports Clips. Don't get the VIP treatment because they won't pay attention to you. Anyways, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your input. And I do these broadcasts. I'm brand new at this. This is my very second Periscope that I've really done that's been scheduled where I had a topic. I look like a VIP to you. Thank you very much, Josh. I appreciate that. You look like Pina Nieto. Is that a girl? I don't know who that is. But I've just been doing these Periscopes. I think this is awesome. I'm excited. A Mexican president. Oh no, that could be good. That could be bad. If there's an overthrow, I'm not far from Mexico, and he runs into hiding in the U.S. and I get picked up as him. That's not good. I'm excited about this Periscope. I'm excited about doing these. I'm going to try to do them every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday around 10 a.m. Pacific Coast time. And then I also will do them every once in a while. Whenever I feel like it. Josh has a very important question, and I'm going to leave everybody with this important question that he's asking. He's asking, do I have eggs in my refrigerator? And I will show you right now, as soon as I turn this around. My phone doesn't like to double click. Here we go. Thanksgiving is the antidote of worry. And do I have eggs in my fridge? I do. But I'm a single dude, so I don't have much in my fridge. Pretty sad. Till next time, I'm Danny. Stay positive.